Hey Libra, it's Luke Vorgarakis from LV Life and welcome to your tarot for 2024. So this is for anyone with a sun, moon or rising Libra sign. Now I'm going to look at 2024 for you by firstly drawing 3 cards to summarize the connection between 23 and 24 and then drawing 12 cards, one for each month. And then finally another 3 cards just to summarize the overview of 24. So I've just done the first 3 here, and we start here with the King of Pentacles. So the King of Pentacles has actually come out in reverse. So here's King of Pentacles there. What we can see in this card is the King is actually getting a bit overwhelmed. Like stuff is starting to kind of grow up and overtake. It's all like everything. It's wonderful to find your throne and be this King of Pentacles, but actually when it starts to be all encompassing, when it starts to swamp you a little bit and feel like a bit of a burden or something that's taking control, then there's a warning there. So in this reverse position, I feel like perhaps 2023 has felt a little bit overwhelming for you. Perhaps physically you're in a place where you feel like you're achieving, or in a place where the material world is good for you, but there's something about it that's still not sitting right, as perhaps it's becoming overwhelming. Perhaps you spent too much time working and not enough play. Um, but definitely there's a lot of pressure that comes with being a king, and particularly the King of Pentacles. So just have a little think about that and how that resonates for your 2023. When we come into the middle, it's another throne card, but it's the Emperor. And the Emperor here, the Emperor is a very powerful, dominant person, somebody that's seen many battles and kind of really earned a throne. And I feel that this is you. Is it you or is it somebody else? I'm actually feeling that perhaps this is somebody else that's making a lot of demands of you, somebody that expects a lot from you. And perhaps that's why this throne, this King of Pentacles throne, is a bit overwhelming and a bit all consuming. Because there are a lot of demands being thrown. There's a lot of pressure at your feet right now. So this is really about how 2023 and 2024 are connecting, and I think that there's a lesson somewhere in here, or there's a bit of guidance around, do you want 23 to be the same as 24? Perhaps you've got the material success, but is that enough to fulfill you? Is that the right thing to fulfill you? Does it feel as good as you thought? Or are you just doing it to please other people? Are you just doing it to appease the Emperor? So there's definitely a domineering kind of character that it expects a lot from you, but it, is wise and has been through, has earned his throne, but perhaps thinks that then everybody else has to do it the same way. So yeah, be cautious of who you're bowing down to, and whether they, that person really or situation really serves you. And then we move on to how this links to 24, which is this Two of Wands. And this is the literal world in your hands, right? And the two is also about having choices. And you can see this person's looking out over to all this different types of terrain. There's land, there's mountains, there's water. And I feel like, for me, this just really feels career focused. Like you've got to a really good place. Your boss expects a lot of you, just using this as an example. But actually, you have a choice. So you don't have to just follow this one person, this emperor. You don't have to just do what they want for you. You can do what you want for you. And I feel like 2024 is about making a choice. It's about making a choice about that world that's in your hands. Like, what do you want that world to be for you? And you have a choice. And I feel like you can change your terrain. You can change your world. Just because you've got the material success now doesn't mean you have to carry that into 2024. Perhaps it's not as sweet as you thought. So let's see how that plays out with the months of 2024. So we'll start right here. January. Too many, not having them. February. March. Move these up a bit. April. May, June, July, August. Made a mess. Oh goodness, now I've lost one. There it is. That's the one that was there. September. October. Honestly, I'm atrocious at shuffling, but that's how I work. Because when they jump out, they're meant to be. November. December. Got it. Okay, let's have a look here. So when we start with January, again, remember I just talked about choices. This is very much choices as well. Like you can see here, someone that looks a bit like they're conducting an orchestra. And cups are around relationships, generally speaking. Not, let's not get too hung up on it. But there are some relationships here that are wonderful. There's some nice things there hanging out in those cups. And there are some that aren't so nice, like there's a snake and a head and all kinds of other weird things. So this is you being the orchestra of your life, the orchestra of your relationships. And I think that when you make this choice for 2024, it's going to come with you having to reorganize a few relationships, a few people, to set some expectations and to set some boundaries, and for you to be the orchestra of the people around you. Not in the sense of controlling them, but in the sense of making them work for you in your life and your ambition and your goals. And if they're not, then they're not part of your orchestra. And if they are, then they're on board and they support you and they lift you up. So it's about understanding the people around you and whether they serve you and your mission or not. So that's January. Then we come into February. In February, we've got the 10 of Swords. One of my favourite cards. It looks horrendous. It's not. What you can see there, someone's been stabbed in the back 10 times, but there's this red cloak. It looks like blood, but it's not blood. There's no bleeding. This person is not dead. This person has been through many battles, many challenges, but they are looking out over to the horizon, and the fog is lifting and the sun is coming back out. It's a new dawn. It's a new day. I'm not going to break into a James Bond theme tune. But February is very much about the completion of those challenging times. And I think more around, only because of the card that's next to it in February and what was going on above it with choices, I think more around the challenges with people and relationships. And I feel like they're coming to an end. You're going to set your boundaries in January, and then all of the things that you feared, or the people that you feared, or the fallout that you feared, will actually come to an end and fall into place, and you'll have the right people into place, and it'll be like a new dawn, I guess, in that respect. Then we work into March, which is when the work really begins. The hard work really begins, because this is you chipping away, doing your thing, working hard. So perhaps this is when the change comes. Perhaps this is you starting to chip away and work hard and build up something else, something different. Not what you have been doing for this Emperor. This card, interestingly, sits right underneath the Emperor. But what you want to be chipping away at, what fills your soul. And then we move on to April, and funnily enough, Aquarius had this as well. And my husband is a Libra, like you, and I'm an Aquarian, and we both had the same, which is this reverse position, Four of Swords. So in the Four of Swords, you've got three swords hanging up, someone resting, and then below there's one more sword. This is very much about this time for reflection, time to pause and look back at some of these battles. Remember these 10 challenges that I talked about, that's being stabbed in the back 10 times. Looking back at some of that stuff, those swords are still hung up on the wall because there's still lessons to learn, but they are not active. They are not in the process of being challenging, tricky things in your life. They're things that you have lessons still to learn, which is why they're still that's why they're still hung up to see, to do something with. But the resting represents you pondering, reflecting, looking back at some of these things and learning your lessons, thinking that why did this happen for me rather than why did it happen to me. So it might be a time off the back of whatever this decision is that you make or this change that you make for you to evaluate what the lessons were amongst all of it and be ready for the next battle. And that's what the fourth sword is there for, because life is always going to throw things at us, but you learn your wisdom from your previous battles and you use that moving forward. So this is not saying in April there will be a challenge or a battle. It is saying that that is time to reflect on previous ones and learn those lessons. And then we move to the Tower card in May, but the Tower is reversed here. So the Tower, for anyone that knows tarot, is when everything comes crumbling down. Everything that you've built up falls down, collapses and changes. But that clears the path for something new. In this reverse position, I feel like this is an emotional thing. Like this is your emotional tower that has taken a hit. Perhaps as you look back at some of these lessons, some of these past battles that we talked about for April, and then when we looked at February and January even, which were the kind of challenges with people and the organizing the people, you're going to realize that your new tower, your new relationships, your new tower that's being built is very much in alignment with who you are and is feeling good and is growing in a way that is authentic and in alignment with you. So it's not the physical tower. It's not that, you know, you've got a new physical life being built up, but internally you've got this new alignment, and you're getting the right people in the right places that believe in you, that support you, that uplift you, and all of that is going to help you feel aligned, and this is going to be your new tower. So that's quite exciting for May. And then we move to June, and in June, remember we said in March and you were chipping away doing all the hard work, getting things set up and working on the things you want to. In June you started to see it pay off. This is like the fruits of your labor. So this person is kind of standing back, admiring what he's been working on, what he's been cultivating, and what is growing. So it's admiring the fruits of your labor there. So things are going to really start paying off in June. And in July, you have opportunities to learn again, but but internal learning, not learning a skill or not learning a certificate, for a certificate or a qualification or anything. But this Three of Wands is about manifestation and creating a life that you want, and you can see this kind of blank plane in the background and this person looking out over it, but it often means like study or stepping into a new opportunity or learning something new. But in this reverse position, I just think really internally, like there's going to be some internal, perhaps even spiritual growth, and maybe it's spiritual exploration, I think, is possibly what I'm looking for here. Really learning and on a new plane, on a new level, about yourself, about the world, about things, just starting to understand things from another perspective, but with this openness and this curious mindset, like you're exploring a blank terrain. So yeah, it's quite exciting. There's a lot of learning going on, but like I say, not necessarily a physical thing or a course, but more like this internal journey. And then, where are we? That was July and August. So August, we have the Four of Pentacles. And what you might see here is someone that's kind of surrounded by pentacles, and then there's this city in the background, right? What you can see here is somebody worrying about money. And that's how I vision. Like here, the universe is saying, hey, like you're grounded, you're safe, you've got physicality in the world that keeps you safe and secure in terms of money. That might be a roof over your head, a regular income, a job, savings, whatever. But physically, you're fine. And the universe up here is like, hey, I got you. I'm looking after you. But yet here you are, still kind of holding onto that money there, holding on, like keeping the purse strings tight or whatever. In this reverse position, I think that this is actually the release of the fear around money, because the universe has got you, and physically in the world you are fine. This is, I think, the universe releasing some of that fear around money and saying, like, that's actually all just your internal voice and your internal talk. Like, it's not real. This sense of needing to keep the purse strings tight, or to hold on, or to worry, it's not real. It's all really just in the imagination. Because money is abundant and money is fluid and money happens, and we just live in this fear mindset in the world. And I really think that August is this time to say, enough is enough. I don't need to live in fear of that stuff anymore. This is just a story that I'm telling myself. Actually, I'm totally fine. And I think that's a really good lesson for August. So, some real releasing around money, fear, and trappings in August. And then in September, you're going to start balancing the darkness and the light, right? So this is here the High Priestess, which is obviously a very feminine aspect, and we have the moon here as well. But what we see is the pillars, which are the most important thing, which are the dark side and the light side. And what this represents is that in life we have to honor the darkness and the light. We've got this habit, particularly if you're in a spiritual community and you've just discovered spirituality or positive thinking or law of attraction or whatever. We bang on about, live in the light, think positive, blah, 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 blah. But that's nonsense, really. I mean, it's good to do that sometimes, but all the time, it's not realistic. It's not the real world. And actually, we learn our greatest lessons in the darkness. So, this is really about honoring the darkness and the light and finding balance between them, because when we do that, we can then propel ourselves forward with the lessons that we've learned, with the optimism that we can hold on the light side. We can really propel ourselves forward. So I think that there is a real opportunity for progression here. But when you understand how to use that darkness as a pedal, as much as you use the light as the pedal. So, when you've got a bike and you've got those two pedals, they have to work together. And when one is up and one is down, but they still work together in harmony, right? Because otherwise you can't move a bike forward without it. So it's very much like that. It's understanding, how do you bring power from the darkness, and how do you bring power from the light, and how do you use those to motivate you and to move you forward. So there's real progression happening in September. In October, you're being asked to keep away from the drama. So here we've got the Five of Wands. Five's a little bit of a disruptor, and these wands are nonsense, really. They're not fighting with swords, they're fighting with wands. So you really want to be focusing on staying out of the drama, staying out of the nonsense, not getting involved in stuff that you don't need to get involved in. That's very much the energy of October. Then when we move to November, and this is so heavily linked, and again, Aquarians had these two together as well, right? So this one, picking and choosing your battles. So we've talked about not getting involved in the drama, but in November, it's like, okay, so when stuff does happen, when battles do come into fruition, it's okay to not win them all. It's okay to not fight them all. Not every battle is for you. This person here is carrying two. He's got one in his other hand ready to go, but then he's dropped 2 and left them behind. And he's just kind of left leaving those wounded soldiers to go on and do their own thing. He's not chasing after them. He's not trying to kill them. All right, so this is very much about picking and choosing your battles. So October, don't get involved in drama. November, pick and choose your battles. So there's something dramatic or something interesting going on in the autumn, but you need to use your wisdom. There's a big message of wisdom here, so just bear that in mind. And then we come to the Page of Swords, which is your December card, and it's in its reverse position. So a Page of Swords, always in a fabulous mini dress. Love a page. I kind of describe the page like an intern. So you've got the page, the knight, the queen, and the king. So the page is the first part. But the page has, made a lot of effort to get to his position, but he's brand new to the role. So it's not that you are kind of new to life, but there is this tentative optimism stepping into something new. But again, it's in reverse. So I really think, and it sits underneath this, the money that we talked about and the learning lessons from the past. It's very much you understanding that when you move in new ways, the world around you changes and the world around you falls more into your alignment. So it's about moving into new ways of thinking, new ways of being who you want to be, new ways of feeling. But it's all going to be a bit new and a bit different and a bit. I keep using the word tentative because you're gonna. I mean, we looked at July where you're going to be exploring new things, like perhaps spiritual stuff or understanding yourself a bit more, humanity a bit more. But then this is more related to now I've got some of that knowledge. I kind of want to do something with it, but I'm not sure what. And I'm kind of optimistic that I want to and I should, but I feel a bit new and fresh like an intern and a bit scared and a bit timid, but a bit excited. So it's like that. So I think that some of the stuff that you're learning in 2024, you're going to be ready to do something with it by the end of the year. So that is the overview of the months. Now let me just do 3 more cards for the overview of the year in general. Knight of Pentacles, Knight of Wands, lots of knights, and Justice. Okay, cool. So, reverse Knight of Pentacles and reverse Knight of Wands. I'm going to show you both of these. So, Knight of Pentacles, that's coming back from a dark battle. Successful, victorious, but not easy. And then the Knight of Wands is then kind of using what happened in that dark battle to move forward to do things in the world, but it's kind of like, well, I've still got my armor on. I'm going to put a lovely piece of fabric over my armor so that I look beautiful, but I still got my armor underneath. So this is like stepping into the world. So I think what this is the Knight of Pentacles is very much about changing up your physicality as well. And we actually talked about that right at the beginning, which is this King of Pentacles and then the Emperor. So you're changing up the physicality of your world. Perhaps right now what you're physically doing in the world isn't serving you, even though maybe financially it is. But right now something's not serving you about it. It's not as like the destination isn't as amazing as you thought it would be once upon a time. So yeah, the overview here is changing up your physicality in the world. But it's going to be a bit heavy and a bit of a hard decision and a heavy decision to make because it's really hard to let go of financial security as an example. But then the next part is, well, actually, I've learned some lessons from that and I'm going to do something with it. I've made this decision. I've got to do something with it, but I'm still going to have my armor on. I'm still going to have this layer of protection, but I'm going to look fabulous doing it. Because you have to learn lessons from these things, and armor is important. We talk about, taking bricks down or not having our walls up high, or letting the armor down or taking it off or whatever. But actually, defenses are really important. If we didn't have build armor or build brick walls, we would never have defenses, and we would go into the world totally naive. We get these bricks or this armor when we learn lessons. And so you're using your lessons to then propel yourself forward, but in a way where you look great doing it. And then the justice card, and this is really nice. It's like, actually, things that are outside of your control, such as contracts or legal matters or whatever, things that really affect your life, but you don't have direct control of. Like, justice is coming in that respect. So I feel like when you have financial security, I keep using this in this reading, and perhaps there's a reason, but when you have financial security, you think, that's it, I'm secure, this is wonderful, this is what we're all aiming to achieve. Um, but anything can take that away. But I feel like in 2024, you are making the decision to change that and what that means for you, and then start changing the way that you think and feel about stuff like that. But then I think that something's going to come into play, like a legal decision or a contract or an inheritance or something, that's just going to re-secure you. That is just going to make everything feel a bit more comfortable. But it's a case of like justice is being served. So yeah, I mean, I guess it's like perhaps there's some tension or some turmoil or some challenges with letting go of what we discussed earlier. But actually, what's going to come of it is another opportunity that's going to be even better and even greater. So you thought that letting go of one financially secure job was perhaps not the most sensible or silly thing to do, but you did it anyway because you weren't feeling it anymore. But actually, justice is going to come right back in at the end and say, actually, here's a better thing, here's a better opportunity, here's something that you could never have dreamed of or imagined that has landed in your favor, because the universe has better and greater imagination than we do. So yeah, really awesome, Libra. I hope that resonated for you. Please do let me know in the comments or message me or whatever, because I love to know what's going on, and I'd love you to check in with me throughout the year. If you want a personalised reading, I'm doing for £24 for 2024. I'm doing your own personalised reading, so this exact same reading, but for you. And I'll be doing that either via video or in my Wellbeing Centre in Fareham. And also on the 4th of February, I'm hosting a Learn Tarot with Luke course, which will be helping you to learn tarot in the way that I practice tarot, which is intuitively. Which is using the cards and having a loose understanding of how the designer created them and what they mean, but also not limiting yourself to that. Absolutely being able to access your intuition and work in that way, which is what I tend to do. So rather than relying on the textbook meanings of things. So hopefully, as I say, that resonated with you. Please let me know. And if you want to book one of those things that we just talked about, then I'll leave in the information and the comments my contact details so you can get in touch. Thanks so much. Have a wonderful 2024. Bye bye.